Hey y'all, welcome back to the 9 Arts podcast. Today we've got Staci Patton, principal at DLR Group, with us on the show. She leads their hospitality interiors and does a great job in talking about how to embrace local culture and guide the vision of the project through the perspective of community. So I look forward to sharing that story with you all today. Make sure that you check her out and learn more about Staci Patton. You can connect with her on LinkedIn. Also learn more about them at DLR. And reminder, if you haven't already, check out our State of the Art report, where you can learn more about the behaviors and beliefs and the reasons that it's important to create meaningful art experiences in the built environment. Enjoy the show.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Today we have Staci Patton with DLR Group on the line. Staci, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Martha. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is a very exciting topic. Love to talk about art, so thanks so much for having me.
Oh, great. Well, we're happy to have you on the show, and would love to start by just getting an introduction from you. Could you tell us a little bit more for our listeners, a little bit more about what you do, how you got to where you are, and what you're working on right now that excites you?
So I work at DLR Group, and I am our hospitality interiors leader. I've had the pleasure of working with our team over the last, probably 6 years, and really trying to grow our hospitality studio. And I've been with the firm, though, for close to 15 years. I, like many designers in sort of the time of recession, started with DLR and, went through the ups and downs of trying to figure out not only my career path, but just how to hang on in the industry. And so I've had a really amazing, sort of series of opportunities that's really given me a platform to get to where I am today. I came from pretty humble beginnings. I, grew up in the South and just always had my eye on something bigger and something, that was very artistic and creative. This foundation of art and creativity was always a part of my process. And it's really great to be in the role that I am today, because a big part of what we like to do for our projects is embrace art and tell that story.
Awesome. Well, where are you from in the South, Staci?
So I actually grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. Their big claim to fame, I think, was probably being voted best place to raise a family one year. But, it's the capital. I went to Florida State, which has a very excellent design program there. A lot of people don't maybe think about that program, but it was mostly run by architects. And so through my training, I was actually guided to really think more about the environment, the three-dimensional quality of design. We had maybe one or two interior designers who actually were professors in the program. So I do credit my education for the approach that I take today to design, which is to think more holistically, far beyond we start talking about finishes and color, that we talk about the space as a whole and what we're trying to do with it and what are the components that add to it. So I know you asked as well, like, what are some cool projects that we're working on? And, with all things pandemic and the return to hospitality that we're starting to see here, we're seeing a lot of our projects come back. A variety of, smaller projects such as AC Hotel is a brand that we work on with Marriott, to even bigger scale projects such as the Dream Hotel in Las Vegas that we're trying to get off the ground with Dream Hotels and some ownership groups. And then we've got, a number of other really amazing opportunities, which, for us is casino work. So casino, restaurant, nightclub. We actually are about to start on a new project for that. And we kind of took a little break for a couple years on working on casinos, but we're starting to see that entertainment-based project type come back. And I really do think it's a good time, because I think as we emerge out of this sort of what feels like a dormant period, people do really long to be connected to each other and in social environments, and people do long to be entertained. And I think, so much of hospitality really offers that kind of emotional stirring in the spaces.
Oh, that's very exciting. And I love hearing the story about where you're from and how you learned through your education. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so grew up not that far from you, and appreciate your education and your approach during your career, which just sounds like it's involved a lot of tenacity and positivity and creativity to get to where you are. The Dream Hotel in Las Vegas sounds very cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're excited. One of the one thing I'll say about these bigger projects is that, gosh, you need a great team. Because you can't do it all on your own. So DLR Group is really excited to partner with a variety of individuals. We are going to be the design architect as well as the sort of interior design of record, if you will. But we've partnered with Averco out of San Francisco and Rockwell out of New York. And so it's been so amazing to work with those individuals, bringing forth a design team that's very diverse and really exploring these ideals about what is a lifestyle experience for Las Vegas. Over the course of periods of time, you've seen the transition of what Las Vegas has offered its guests. You've gone from the kind of drive up, casino almost strip style experiences to then moving into decades where it was very highly thematic, New York and Paris and Bellagio and the Wynn. They all came from a very highly thematic and almost cinematic approach. And what we're seeing now is that there's a demographic who want to go to Las Vegas, and they're not really looking for that. They're looking for a space in a hotel that really aligns with their lifestyle, a more contemporary mindset, one that's not rooted in just gaming. These are kind of travelers like you and I, like people who just would love to have an amazing restaurant experience, a great, hotel stay, an awesome time laying out by the pool, engaging maybe in some lifestyle of the night, but that's not overly the driver either. But we're really trying to think outside the box to bring a new experience, maybe even a digital art type of experience, new types of F&B, and really thinking about that transition from day to night, that it's not all focused on night, which is historically what Las Vegas is very much about.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit more about it. And that it segues a bit into one of our questions today, which is how do you go about designing a hotel and a brand?
What's cool about our industry is that there are so many different ways that one might approach a project. And I don't think there's any right or wrong, but I know for us, we really try to begin each project with sort of a discovery phase. We want to go into a project with, eyes open, ears open, and try to just learn as much as we can about the community. Because for us, being honest to the locale and the community is almost like for us a baseline. And so we spend a lot of time in discovery phase, talking to, local members, whether they be part of the sort of business landscape, artistic landscape. We've even talked to those who are, curating museums or part of, music education in the community, and everything down to just your typical guy or gal who owns a brewery or, really cool, fashion store. Those types of experiences that they are having in their community really help us understand the positioning that one might want to take within the community.
So it sounds like your background in synthesizing information and also putting together something that's a really original concept that still ties into the place is probably tied a bit into your background as an artist as well. I'm sure that lens that comes through in everything that you do. And so I'd love to have you share a little bit more about how art and culture aligns with the brand vision in those cases when you're developing the goals, and why is it important?
as you get older, I think you have the moments of reflection. And I do think that you're right. Like having such a love for art and such a love for storytelling through the piece that you're creating. You're in your mind and you're creating this piece, and you're having that inner dialogue about what it means. And you always hope that your end product is something that could elicit a response by those viewers. But of course, those viewers are not you; they're not in your head. So I do see a lot of correlation between that and what I'm hoping to achieve through design, and with my team. And and I think that might be the challenge for a lot of designers in our industry who maybe haven't done this, is to push yourself to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the guests that you're designing for, and really try to empathetically feel how do you want them to feel in the spaces that you're designing. A couple examples of projects that we've done this is, I would say maybe our most recent project down in Des Moines, which was the Surety Hotel. So we felt like the art program was going to be very key to really showcasing just that very thing. That you may reside and live in Des Moines, but that doesn't mean that you're not of a worldly view. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced the urban qualities of other locales. And so we really thought that it would be very key to represent that mindset through the art. And so we really embarked on a much more challenging exercise to really bring all of the pieces of art that we placed in the public spaces to really truly be from Iowan artists. And so to do that, I think is, as a designer, it's a much more involved process. And so you really have to find a good partner, to help you with this, because as a designer, you're not only responsible for the floor plans and the code and application of your finishes, you also have to design the furniture, you also have to do the lighting. There's just so many things that you are responsible for in an environment, and art, to champion that is just one more difficult challenge. So on that project, we were able to tap into a variety of local galleries, and we sort of asked them, like, hey, we want to make sure that all of the artists here are represented locally or regionally. Can you help us? We really tried to stitch together an artistic landscape of the project that was of meaning to that community.
I really enjoy hearing that story and how the community engagement and social impact was a huge part of the value proposition for bringing culture to the new hotel. Can you tell us, did you feel like the benefits, the community benefits, or the social impact of engaging with local artists, did that exceed your expectations, meet them, or come in below? I'm curious about what you expected going in and then the outcome.
I think in Des Moines, even myself residing in, both Chicago and Minneapolis, I had a lot of concerns. I was concerned we weren't going to get quite the depth that we were hoping for. I think in most that design for hospitality lifestyle experiences, they really have a high level of expectation. The design has to meet that high level expectation, the service has to meet that high level of expectation. And so, for embarking on a task to say we're going to use all original regional and local artists, it at first was like, oh, I'm not sure. We'll see what we get. What we found was that, oh my God, there is an incredible amount of talent in the Midwest. So, in Aperium Hotel Group and I at DLR, we got the response, from this sort of more sort of public RFP that we put out through these 3 galleries. And when we saw the volume of what we received, it was immediately a moment of feeling rewarded and very grateful that, wow, we have this much to look through in this community of Iowa. For so many people who may overlook this state or this town, look at what is here. You talked a little bit about what are the trends. I think we're starting to see owners really expect of our designers to know a little bit more about art and to have a much more genuine relationship with art, and not just use it as that final layering.
I'm so glad that you got to have that experience of seeing the responses come in and being able to go through all of the portfolios. It's hugely rewarding and it's a huge effort also. Tell us more about collaboration. So, in your view, what makes the best collaboration with an art consultant? What makes for a worst collaboration? And you talked a little bit about the catalogs and being able to dive more deeply than that. But what's the value of having an art consultant on your team? What can a good art consultant bring to the table?
Having a really great art consultant on our team is one that, they truly love the relationship building with the artistic community. And I know that's something that we've had great success with your team at Nine Dot Arts on as well, is that you actually do speak with artists, that you seek them out, that you pull them into your relationship to represent them. And it may not be on every project, but there will come a time where you will know, oh, I have an idea, that I have a great artist for that space or for that story. When we work with some of the more what I'll call production house art groups, I think you tend to see too much replication. You tend to see that you're not even really seeing who the original artist is. That's not even part of the presentation of the art. It's almost like it's just about the visual of the art. And I see a big problem with that because it voids out all the emotion and soul that art is inherently have. I mean, art is born out of someone's brain and put into a medium that we can see into their mind. And so when you start to, just pump art into a hotel or even a restaurant or another space that you don't even know the artist's name, you don't even know the title of the art, you don't even know why in which this was created, to me is just we're kind of done with that phase. That has no meaning. And it really doesn't even set the sales team up when they open the hotel. They can't even really talk about it.
That authenticity piece that you were talking about is such a huge part of social impact and community engagement for artwork. And I appreciate that you even referenced the sales team having a way to engage with the guests. Is there any particular goal that you have in mind from a business perspective? What's the impact of having a really thoughtful, authentic, mindful art experience?
For me, I don't believe that guests walk into a space and even remotely remember after they left what color the chair was. I don't think that they at all care about what color the floor is. I don't think they at all care about if this was an ash oak versus a walnut. I literally don't think they care. What I believe that wholeheartedly guests remember is the vibe of a space. They remember the social experience of a space. They remember the storytelling. They remember the service. And art plays a part of that experience. When they stand in a transition zone or if they stand at sort of a feature space and they see a piece of art and they stand and they have a conversation about it, and maybe even a heated conversation about it, that's what people remember. And that's what brings them back. The place of art and even the place of design should be really centered around the stories that it tells, and get away from being so obsessed about a color or a finish or a style, and really make sure that your guests really understand the feelings that you are promoting in that space and how that aligns with your brand.
I think it's fascinating to hear the perspective, and it makes your role even that much more important, because if the whole goal is to change the way people feel, to create a memorable experience with the whole ambiance and the whole story, it's the culmination of everything. One question that I love to end with is, thinking back over the past 12 months, we've all learned a lot through this era of COVID. So, what have you learned that you want to bring with you into the future, and what are you leaving behind?
So, what I have learned, among many things, um, is I think I definitely am an extrovert. I think I've learned that my success is dependent on others. It's dependent on the collaboration of others. I truly need that interaction like water, like air. And I've learned too that that is also my leadership style, is in person, and sort of born out of the chemistry and energy that you feel sitting in front of someone in real life. And so, of course, there's so many things learning over the year about being grateful and humble. But I think it's really helped me solidify what is my leadership style, what in not only creative development, but just, team management. Learning what that is and really saying like, okay, I have a proof of concept of that now. And that feels really exciting to be able to say, okay, in order for me to be successful for you, maybe as a client, maybe as a consultant, maybe as a friend or manager or creative leader, I need to be with you and doing it with you.
Well, Staci, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners learn more about you and your work if they're interested in? How can people find you?
So, you can reach myself either on Instagram at Staci Patton SP, or you can look up DLRgroup.com. That is our website where you can be led to learn a lot of different things about DLR Group. And also, you can probably find me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing what our team is up to and the successes that we've had together and some of our collaborations and new projects. So any one of those would be a great place to find me. And I'm always open for anyone to send emails or questions. Definitely love contributing back to our community.
Great. Well, thank you again, Staci, for being with us today. Appreciate your time, and thank you.
No, thank you. This is wonderful, and so honored that you guys reached out.